there everyone, this is lavoncason here, back at it again with another video. Today I'm going to be watching a Tallarico documentary and a television Amico documentary. And yes, I was a television Amico reactor at one point. So yeah, the documentary is basically called ROBLOX OOF.mp3. So yeah, let's begin.
70 years, there's a good chance you've heard this voice. This sound, man being eaten by alligator, was recorded for Distant Drums in 1951 for a scene where a guy randomly drowns all by himself. This recording then became part of the library of sound effects people at Super Warneo Brothers used. Another scream from that recording then appeared in 1953's The Charge at Feather River, where a certain Private Wilhelm gets shot by an arrow. They also use it like 2 more times in the same movie. Sound designer Ben Burt noticed this reuse and started reusing it himself in student films because he thought it was funny. As a silly little joke, he hid it in the background of a B-movie he was hired to work on. Oops, looks like culture's been changed forever. Burt had accidentally started a career-long running joke.
That sound effect was used in a lot of movies.
In his...
Hi, my name is Andrew, and I'm developing a video game about empty spaces. Growing up in Michigan during the Great Recession...
In his big cameo in Jedi, he does an impression of the scream when he gets killed by an OSHA-violating guardrail. Then other people started using it too, and now it's everywhere.
Oh my god. This sound effect right here was used in a lot of movies.
Getting in on someone else's in-joke kind of risks ruining it, but I wouldn't know anything about that. And there's a bunch of other iconic screams like this. Oh, Jesus Christ! Like with Wilhelm, the source of these sounds are usually well documented. That scream comes from a popular sound effects library. And while we're ruining things, those sheep/goats screaming like a human videos you love so much? Yeah, they're all fake. That's just a sound that comes free with Apple software. You're welcome. But for over a decade, one sound's original source was unknown. This one. This is all over internet video nowadays, but where's it from? Most people under a certain age are yelling ROBLOX at the screen right now. ROBLOX is a free online game/platform people can make additional content and games for, and they can even monetize what they make for a pittance. According to YouTube journalists People Make Games, Roblox developers receive less than 25% of the money from sales of content they make. This has led to the Roblox Corporation attaining a net worth of roughly $7 quadrillion. And one of, if not the, most iconic things about this game is its death sound effect, also known as the ROBLOX OOF. Videos of just this sound get millions upon millions of views. It has its own separate existence as a meme across thousands of videos, and one video claiming to be its origin has 117 million views, shockingly close to the lifetime views of my entire channel. This sound effect is a phenomenon, but it's not from Roblox, and this child is a liar.
Alright, let's see what this documentary is all about.
I haven't played Roblox. I play mature games for grown-ups, like Fortnite. When I was the age Roblox would have definitely controlled my life, it was instead being controlled by stop-motion animation, and then later by Garry's Mod, a game which did not monetize its content in increasingly horrifying ways, transforming its community into a digital sweatshop, but I'm sure the new way is fine too. So no, I haven't played Roblox, but I have played Messiah. Messiah was released in the year 2000 and developed by Shiny Entertainment. They made Path of Neo, so they're insane and I love them. You play as a cute little cherub named Bob, who gets blasted down to Earth to help out. This is the best opening cutscene ever. Bob has no combat abilities whatsoever. Instead though, he can possess other people.
I'm a cop.
You know, in real life, a huge portion of the angels who come to Earth end up in the bodies of police officers. It's true, Google 40% cops. Bob can possess basically any living thing, including rats when the developers feel like making you save scum. The player is constantly switching bodies, using their different abilities, credentials, and weapons. The pacing is breakneck, because doing so doesn't slow you down. I played Messiah in the mid-2000s when I found it in a Christian charity shop. I assume they didn't see the words sex, religion, possession, death on the cover, and then I threw it away. I bought this copy on eBay to use as a prop. I have to get this out for the rest of the video now. Then a decade passes, and in a random YouTube video, I hear a familiar sound. People tell me it's from ROBLOX, but I swear I've heard it somewhere else. Obviously, I immediately forgot about it and moved on with my life until 2019 when someone else figured it out. User Plasma Node on Reddit was watching the ending cinematic on YouTube for some reason and noticed a very familiar sound. He posted his discovery on Reddit along with a clip from the ending. Someone stole and reposted his clip on Twitter. A large Roblox YouTuber made a video about that tweet, and then journalists started picking up on it. Although the articles do credit the wrong person with the discovery because their one source is a video that got it wrong. Why did the sound get so popular anyway? Well, if TV has taught me anything, children being injured is just universally funny. Let's not think about what that says about us. Here's an interesting fact, which I hope justifies me playing the entire game in preparation for this video. Everyone involved seems to think the sound effect is specifically in the ending, but it's actually all over the game. You can fly around and flap your little wings to float, and whenever you slam into a wall, Bob makes a noise, and that's one of the noises. It's also in the opening cutscene too.
Oh!
It's kind of funny it was discovered in the end, the last possible place you would hear it if you played the game. Interestingly enough, there was proof in Roblox the sound was from Messiah all along, and no one thought to check. You see, sound files have this thing in them called metadata. It's extra information that comes with a file, you know, album art, list of the artists and people who worked on it, and so on. You know those pirated Weird Al Yankovic albums your friend gave you when you were 14? That's why the album art was in there. It was in the metadata. I think that anecdote might be a bit too specific. The OOF sound in Roblox's game files, .wav, has metadata in it saying it was made in 1999 while Messiah was being made, with the engineer listed as Joey Kouros. Joey Kouros is an extremely prolific video game sound designer. He's worked on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Spider-Man, Gears of War, and even Fortnite. That clip I showed earlier, that wasn't just me showing off my sick skills, that was a clever setup for this bit. No, it wasn't actually. I wrote a Fortnite joke and then it turned out he'd worked on Fortnite, but still. And here's Joey on page XXXVI of Messiah's manual as one of the sound effects guys. See, look, see? I don't have a camera person this time, so I'll have to cut to a close-up that I shot later. Rachel stopped responding when she found out what the video was about. So there we go. We know where the sound effect was from. We even have a good idea who might have made it. Mystery solved. We can all go home to our families. Just kidding, there's more. That's only the beginning of the story, you worm.
There's gonna be a lot more to this.
We haven't even talked about who owns the sound effect yet. It doesn't belong to Joey, it belongs to the company he was working for when it was made, Tommy Tallarico Studios, along with its owner,
Tommy Tallarico.
I don't need to say his name. He named his studio after himself.
Are you ready? Yeah.
This is where things are gonna get interesting, guys. This is where things are gonna get very, very interesting.
Video game industry icon, according to the first line of his biography on his website. I wouldn't personally go that far, but he was a fairly well-known musician and composer for video games in the 90s and 2000s. His most notable soundtracks include Earthworm Jim, MDK, and Advent Rising. His company was involved with the sound effects on lots of other games from this period too. That's why if you're my age or older, this is burned into your brain.
Oh, another ad.
Hey, do you ever walk into a room
Another
and
ad.
completely forget why you're there?
Another ad.
Totally.
Tommy Tallarico Studios.
He was also on TV on the shows Electric Playground and Judgment Day, some of the earliest shows about video games, reviewing new releases and interviewing developers. If you were around for a certain era of game history, you remember Tommy from TV.
I wasn't around this era, guys. I'm 23 years old, so I don't know what Electric Playground was like, so let me know in the comment section below. Was that a good video game show? Let me know.
or played something his company worked on. He also co-founded Video Games Live, which produced symphony performances of popular video game soundtracks. VGL is universally recognized among gamers as a thing they think they remember hearing about that seems nice. Through royalties from his company's work over the years, Tommy's doing pretty well for himself, and he's spent his money on living in a very interesting house. It has themed rooms, a Spider-Man room full of all the original comics.
Probably have about $50,000 in your hands right there.
Giant statues of Lara Croft and the Fifth Element Lady, an ancient Egypt-themed dining room. The list goes on.
The first thing I built in my house when I bought this was a 7-foot waterfall, but it kind of sucks because at night sometimes I have to go to the bathroom.
And Tommy is proud of his insane mansion, that's why I've got so much footage of it. He's given numerous tours of the place over the years, and it was even on MTV's Cribs. He's so proud of that, he re-uploaded it to his own YouTube channel years later. He's very happy about the fact he was specifically on MTV's Cribs.
Very successful guy. Very successful guy. As I'm seeing all these clips right now.
He says it a lot in interviews, and that's what he calls the video he uploaded onto his own channel, and there's no way he would tell an obvious lie like that. Would he? Foreshadowing is a literary device in which he also re-uploaded an old UK show where the presenter clearly hates his house.
This is absolutely hideous. You've got to sort yourself out, Tommy. You've got too much money. This is silly. It's not right, Tommy.
No, but it is.
There's children starving.
And if you're the sort of person who's impressed by Guinness World Records, Tommy has a huge stack of them leaning up against a cabinet in the corner of his awards/Indiana Jones nook. The big one is person who has worked on the most video games in their lifetime.
I actually have the Guinness World Record for the person who's worked on the most video games in their lifetime.
How many were those worked by Tommy, though? How many of those were worked by Tommy? That's
such
what
a
I'm
big
wondering.
deal, he was handpicked by Shigeru Miyamoto to work on Metroid Prime.
Metroid Prime with Shigeru Miyamoto. I worked with...
Is that even true? Is that even true? This guy right here, Tommy Tallarico, did he actually work on Metroid Prime with Shigeru Miyamoto? Like, I'm sensing some cap. I'm sensing some cap.
For
some cap.
Many years.
That's what I'm sensing.
He was also the first American to work on the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise.
I was the first American ever hired to work on the Sonic franchise.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
I don't know. I don't know if I can believe it. I don't know if I can believe it, honestly.
Believe that? Tommy's been kind of resting on his laurels doing Video Games Live for a while now. He hasn't done much new music for games since the late 2000s. One of the last things he did was donate music to Super Tofu Boy, a game made by PETA. It's a really bad Super Meat Boy clone interspersed with quite good music and interesting meat facts. Listen, PETA, I've eaten a lot of tofu, but meat doesn't scream either. If it did, people would probably stop eating it. Tommy is a vocal PETA supporter, doing an interview for them in the Egyptian wing of his house about cruelty to animals, and put out a statement on Facebook responding to criticism of his involvement with Tofu Boy. It's the only press release I've ever read that has emoticons in it. We can't really talk about Tommy without talking about what he was doing while the Earth was being discovered.
This
Tommy
is the
most
biggest
well known
thing
nowadays
right now.
for what has become known as the
Intellivision
Amico
Amico
disaster.
man.
In 2018, Tommy acquired the rights to Intellivision, a game company from the 70s and 80s, and announced he was making a brand new console, the Intellivision Amico. Amico aimed to be a truly family-friendly games console, with low age ratings on its games, and
it
the
was
bonus
supposed to be
selling
the next
point
week.
of, not having online
It was
play.
supposed to be the
Apparently
next
to get
week,
people playing in the
basically.
same room together? Together again. Oh, some people would tell you online play is one of the best features of modern gaming and a nice option for people who can't easily be physically next to each other, and to that, Tommy's reply was, no.
When I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, and even when I was working in the game industries in the 90s, you know, we didn't have the internet, right?
With this pitch in hand, how did the Amico do? It didn't. It was delayed, supposedly due to the global pandemic.
And it never came out. And if it does come out in 2023, nobody would care. Nobody. Nothing more, nothing less, guys. Let's be real about the Intellivision Amico. It's a wrap. Hey, it's a wrap. Hey, it's a wrap. It's a wrap for the Intellivision Amico. it's a wrap. Like, nobody cares about this product. Nobody at this point really cares about this product. The Atari VCS has beaten the Intellivision Amico when it comes to the product actually releasing. It has beaten the Intellivision Amico.
Pandemic, but then it was delayed many more times, and it still isn't out 2 years after the intended launch. It seems less like unfortunate supply chain issues and more like management underestimated how hard it is to make a new game console from scratch. As CEO, Tommy made the decision to open 2 company offices, in Irvine, California and Salt Lake City, Utah, 2 really expensive places to open offices in the middle of the pandemic. In his video tours, the large, expensive spaces are mostly empty and unused, with the money guy in the back looking like he's working overtime trying to keep this operation afloat without a finished product.
This is where the magic happens. Tommy wants money. This is in this box is where it all happens.
As the money started to run out, they turned to crowdfunding investment website Fig. Tommy produced a video in his Spider-Man room, with other company leadership in his Egypt room and Tomb Raider-themed movie theater room, claiming the console just needs a bit more money to get going and release is just around the corner.
The rocket ship has been built, we are on the launch pad, and we just need the fuel to take off. So strap yourself in, because it's going to be one hell of a ride.
They raised $7 million more and the Amico still didn't come out. So they tried again, turning to second crowdfunding investment website, Republic. They even used the same pitch video. Come on guys, the rocket ship just needs—
See, people are more interested in what's been going on behind the scenes with Intellivision when it comes to the Amico instead of the actual product itself.
It's a couple more $1 million.
Strap yourself in.
They raised over $11.5 million more so they could continue to not release a console. They tried a third time on a weird, shady investor website that pretends to be a live stream but is clearly pre-recorded.
The rocket ship is built, folks. We are on the launch pad. We just need a little more fuel.
And then they turned to yet another crowdfunding website for more and cancelled it partway through when it became clear there's no one left to invest. When internal documents leaked revealing the console's internal hardware was cheap, old, and rubbish, Tommy threatened people who reported on it with legal action, and when another journalist asked what the reporters had done wrong reporting publicly available information, he deleted all the tweets. The Amico's difficult non-launch, gleeful tossing of investor money into 2 large holes,
There's not too many people here in the office yet.
and its CEO's increasingly aggressive behavior towards people trying to report what was happening netted the company and Tommy some criticisms. Tommy did the responsible thing and started messaging people to call them names. He defended the Amico on internet forums, calling detractors morons, idiots, mentally unstable, narcissists, and cowards, comparing criticism—
I don't think a CEO would. I would think a CEO would respond more professionally, but that's just me.
of his business decisions to racism, eventually settling on calling his detractors gaming racists, the funniest term I've ever heard.
But these
Gaming
elitists,
racists.
they're racists. They're literally gaming racists.
What?
He did this while following a bunch of actual racists, white supremacists, and far-right personalities on Twitter. This caused people to check for his other hot takes and—
Gaming racists? Really, dude? Really? Oh my god.
discover his opinion on people who kneel for the national anthem. Apparently racism is bad, but protesting it is for douchebags.
Somebody just said I sound like a social justice warrior. You couldn't be farther from the truth, and I'm the most unpolitically correct person on the planet.
Don't call me an SJW. You have no idea how racist I am.
People are saying I got triggered. No, I'm just having fun and being passionate. The folks in there that are peeing their pants right now.
Things just got worse from there. It hit the point where Tommy, the CEO of a family-friendly games console company in—
So much for being family-friendly, guys. So much for being family-friendly. It became something else than that.
desperate need of investment, would only give interviews with an ever-dwindling group of die-hard fans who completely agreed with this behavior. The kind of normal person who wear a serial killer mask while they interview you.
My wife told me to cancel my Amico, and I still did not.
This is one of the last people Tommy was willing to speak to.
And then if you want to hear me, pwn some noobs and punch back at some haters, follow me on Twitter, Tommy Tallarico.
Okay.
And, I don't mind punching back to some of these losers.
He has since stepped down as CEO, with his replacement announcing the company is entering a quiet period, which is a hell of a subtweet if I've ever seen one. The Amico still isn't out, and a lot of people want their money back.
If it does come out, who's really gonna buy this thing? Who is really going to buy this Amico? Like, maybe a couple people out there, but no one cares about the Amico like that anymore. Like, people just care about the drama of it than the actual product itself.
In the middle of all this, right before the first big delay, before things got super bad, back when Tommy had a reputation to burn, the OOF discovery was made. Due to his contract with Shiny Entertainment, Tommy Tallarico Studios owns all the sound effects he and his employees made for the game. Shiny could use them in Messiah, but they belong to Tommy, and he can use them again or sell them if he wishes. And when Tommy found out a sound effect he owned was being used in Roblox, oh boy, did the butter begin to churn. Tommy stepped up to the plate and did a stream on YouTube called Talking About the Roblox OOF Sound and Controversy. It's hard going back to this stream because he spends a good chunk of it pitching a soon-to-be-released game console that still doesn't exist.
We're actually coming out with a brand new video game machine. It's called the Intellivision Amico. We actually don't allow online play.
It's weirdly anxiety-inducing watching a man in January 2020, right before a global pandemic, pitching a console whose central feature is trapping people in a room together.
Everybody can kind of come together and play in the same room together.
That was just 2 months before the pandemic. 2 months before the pandemic happened. I would have put online play on the Amico, honestly. I would have honestly put in online play.
But when he wasn't pitching his scam-adjacent business venture, Tommy was demanding Roblox give him $100 million.
Tommy wants money.
Okay, for legal reasons, I'd like to specify that was a joke. He didn't ask for that much.
Oh, okay.
Probably. He didn't say how much he wanted. Almost like he was embarrassed to. Tommy made it clear he didn't want Roblox to remove the sound. He wanted them to keep using it, but to pay him for it. And if they didn't, things were going to court.
They may think that, I'm trying to get the sound taken out of the game. I'm not. They may think that I'm currently suing Roblox. I'm not currently, but it's also not fair to me that I don't get compensated for this.
This situation is, legally speaking, very funny. Allow me to pretend I understand it for a few minutes. A key point here is, at least as far as I can tell, so probably wrong, Tommy isn't owed any compensation. According to Roblox, the OOF came on a CD of sound effects the original creators purchased when they were making the game in the mid-2000s. If this is true, they used the sound with the reasonable belief they had the right to do so at the time. Whoever took the sound out of Messiah and sold it on a CD could be in trouble, but the two guys who started Roblox in 2006 didn't do anything wrong, apart from create Roblox. Okay, I've spoken to a couple of lawyers after filming this bit, should have done beforehand really, and they clarified something I think I should add here about them not doing anything wrong. They did still technically do copyright infringement. If you use a sound effect you bought from someone and it turns out they stole it and lied to you, you're still guilty of copyright infringement. Ooh. However, if this actually went to court, there is something called the innocent infringer defense. If an infringer can demonstrate they had no reason to believe they had committed copyright infringement, and it looks like Roblox might be able to do that, the court can reduce the statutory damages to as low as $200 per infringement. There are other types of damages, like actual damages, the losses suffered by the owner as a result of the infringement, but that's something that could only be answered in a courtroom. As you're about to see, however, Roblox directly told Tommy they don't think they owe him anything, so it sounds like they think they have a good defense if things go to court. In these tweets a few days before the stream, Tommy seems a bit annoyed that no one owes him money, although in his version, Roblox feel like they don't owe him anything, which is a strange way of describing a large corporation. I think what Tommy means is Roblox's lawyers know what the law is, but he still would like to have some money. All Roblox are required to do in this situation is remove the sound, and Tommy could send a cease and desist and trigger that happening whenever he wanted.
I could have sent a letter, very easy. Cease and desist, stop using the sound, it's mine, you don't have permission to use it, take it out of your game.
But Tommy isn't doing that because he doesn't want it taken out.
Tommy wants money.
If he can get them to keep it in and pay him a license fee to use it, or just buy the sound off him outright, he could make a lot of money.
Yeah, I'd rather them just pay me and them own the sound forever so that it stays in the game.
Tommy cannot stress enough how much he doesn't want Roblox to remove the sound, because that's how he makes money from this.
I never asked Roblox to remove the sound. I don't want it to be removed. I haven't told them to take the sound out of the game. I want to keep the sound in the game, so...
And Roblox probably want to keep the immensely popular sound in their game. However, they are a business. Their ultimate goal is to keep as much of their money as possible. A majority of Roblox's income comes from underpaying the people who actually make the game's content. How much do you think they're willing to pay for 0.3 seconds of a child saying ow, especially when they could replace it for free?
Roblox could remove the sound tomorrow if they wanted to.
So when Tommy approached them asking for money, Roblox offered him less.
We approached Roblox, we said, hey, there's a situation, and we're gonna ask for this much. Roblox said, we think you should get this much. so, this much is what we think.
Just to put it in plain English, the purpose of this stream is for Tommy to complain that Roblox will not offer him enough money to buy a sound effect they don't need.
I think they're nuts and disrespectful to me.
This is an all-time classic Tallarico moment right here, complaining about respect while calling someone nuts and asking them for more money. It's just incredible.
I'm hoping that we can come together, I don't know, maybe somewhere in the middle, to make everyone happy.
One question really starts to stand out in this 90-minute stream. How much money does he want? He's very careful to never say how much he thinks the sound effect is worth, how much he asked for, or how much they offered him.
And I can't tell, people are going to say, well, how much did you ask for? Look, you have to understand that it is not professional of me to go around stating how much money I'm asking and how much they are offering.
Just to be clear, unless there's some...
But yeah, it is professional of you to say gaming racist. Oh my god.
Kind of non-disclosure agreement, which he probably would have said if there was, there isn't anything actually stopping Tommy from saying how much he wants for the sound effect. The Amico saga has proven irrefutably that Tommy does not care in the slightest about appearing professional. That excuse doesn't work. He's choosing not to say it, and getting increasingly defensive as viewers keep asking, and he runs out of explanations.
To be honest, none of your damn business. No. How much did you say for them to pay for the OOF sound? Okay, well, I've already gone over that I can't talk about that.
To an outside observer, and the chat whose questions he was dodging, it started to feel like Tommy just wanted a embarrassingly large amount of money for a single sound effect, and knew that it would make him look really greedy if he said it.
People are never gonna know, what it is, and there doesn't need to be that knowledge.
He's in the fascinatingly awkward position of not being able to say how much he wants, even though that's what the stream is about.
It would be unprofessional to talk about that, but I think I did describe that it's a lot more than what they were offering, which was barely anything at all.
I think it's worth asking how much barely anything is to a millionaire with a dedicated Spider-Man room and an indoor waterfall in his mansion.
Everyone should have a 7-foot waterfall, I think, installed in your room. But the thing that's kind of bad about it is that at night, I always have to go to the bathroom.
Wait a minute, didn't he already make that joke? Later in the stream, he started taking questions, and someone asked him to give the ratio how different the counteroffer was.
Tommy, percentage-wise, how far is Roblox offer compared to what you ask for? At least 100 times less. So that, if they offered me $1, I'm asking for $100. So, if they offered me $1,000, that means I'm asking for $100,000, right? So that's how far it is off.
I find it very curious that he will say how much he asked for, but only in the form of a riddle. Even more curiously, he uses very small amounts of money as examples. He chooses not to say, for example, if they offered me 50 grand, that means I asked for $5 million. Or if they offered me 100 grand, okay, I can see why he didn't.
And I hope they come to their senses. And I know they're probably watching. I don't know, maybe they're not. It's Saturday morning.
So that was the situation in January 2020. Roblox were offering to buy the sound. Tommy wanted 100 times more money than they were offering. And if things didn't go his way, he was threatening to take things to court.
You know, I have attorneys I have teams of attorneys. I easily have about 20 different lawyers. It's just a difference of opinion on whether or not I help to bring millions of people to their game or not, and what that is worth.
That last thing is, I think, why Tommy thinks he can ask for whatever massive amount of money he won't say. In his mind, this one sound effect single-handedly launched the Roblox franchise.
But the idea is that this is a sound that helped to create the franchise, right? Some may say even that the reason Roblox is as popular as it is now may be because of the fact that so many people shared this oof sound. So
some may say. Tommy, you don't need to launder your arguments like that. You are the one saying that right now.
This is something that helped to create the franchise itself. It's made the game Roblox go supersonic. It was part of the reason. How many millions of people found out about the game Roblox because of a meme because of the sound, right? We think we're asking for something extremely fair considering what it has done for the franchise.
These claims are hilarious, exaggerated, but most of all, wrong. Take the sound effects from Minecraft that are really popular and people use a lot in videos too. They have a huge presence online as well, but they didn't make Minecraft popular. They're popular because they're in a game millions of children have played. The Roblox oof took off in mid-2017, when Roblox was already a pretty mainstream thing. The cause and effect is completely backwards here. While it might not be entirely impossible for a single sound effect to make a game very popular, I would like to remind everyone that this sound effect was already in a game, and that game was such a massive critical and commercial failure that no one noticed a sound effect had been stolen for 20 fucking years. Come on, bud. Roblox didn't become a multi-billion-dollar company because of a sound effect. They got there by being evil. Speaking of evil, Roblox eventually worked with Tommy to turn all of this into a whole new way of monetizing their empire of nightmares. Instead of paying Tommy for the sound, they're making the players pay for it. In November 2020, Roblox announced the oof sound was going to be removed, but they were updating their developer marketplace so players could purchase sounds to use in their games. And once this update was complete, the oof sound could be purchased and used through there. I assume Tommy would get a cut from this. Simultaneously, Tommy announced he had produced a sound effects pack for creators to use in their Roblox games, including the oof.
I have done a brand new sound design library just for Roblox.
Creators could buy a range of sound effects packs costing from $10 to $250 and use these in the games they make. Roblox and Tommy agreed to keep the sound in the game as is for a while, so the sound marketplace had time to get up and running and no one had to go oofless in the meantime. But this functionality still hasn't been added a year and a half later. Eventually, in July this year, Roblox, citing a licensing issue, removed the sound and replaced it with this one. Which is rubbish, frankly. But it might be bad on purpose to incentivize paying to replace it once they get the marketplace up. So, clever move, I guess.
So they removed the oof sounds. Wow. Wow,
You
this
bags
is
of scum.
interesting.
Tommy also got to make some official oof merch, so that was nice for him, I suppose.
I've created an oof t-shirt.
He doesn't look like he got the massive payday he wanted, especially since the audio marketplace hasn't manifested yet, but at least he got something out of it. So, there we go. Wasn't that an interesting story?
Yeah, it was.
That's the end of the video essay.
It was interesting.
Don't look at the runtime. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If you came here to find the origins of a sound effect, you can go. Subscribe on the way out if you'd like, but take care. Go play Roblox or something. And Tommy, I know you're watching. I've seen you arguing with people in the comments of videos with 100 views. You can go as well. go do whatever it is you do in your fun house. I'm just chilling out. See ya.
There's more to this video. There's more.
Okay, I think they're gone. This video.
We're blessed.
And another ad.
To
Another
others in
ad.
need, like the kids
Another
all
ad.
around the world.
Okay.
This video is being filmed in an undisclosed location to avoid being traced. Also, Mum went on holiday and she locked the garage so I can't get to my set. And no, I have no idea why the back wall of this room is also green. The last guy who lived here had terrible taste. Anyway, I think he's gone. Okay, we need to talk about Tommy. This is where the video was supposed to finish. So I was writing up the script and doing a bit more research, and then I re-watched Tommy's E3 2021 pitch for the Amico, and I realized something. He takes credit for creating the OOF in a very particular way.
I'm even the guy who did the OOF sound for Roblox.
He made the sound for Roblox? I thought I misheard him, or maybe he misspoke, but no, that's how he says it.
The thing that you might know me the most from is the guy who created the beloved OOF sound for Roblox. That's
What?
right.
The sound wasn't made for Roblox, it was made for another game and reused by mistake.
What? Yo. Oh my god, dude. That OOF sound was made from some other game that nobody really cared about like that, you know, years ago.
That's what this whole thing was about, Tommy. He said that one in the commercial for his sound design kits he's selling to put it back in the game. Why is he saying it like that? Well, obviously the idea he made it for Roblox, this massive important corporation, is slightly more prestigious than the truth, isn't it? So he's slightly altering the story to give himself a bit more credit. And that's fine, like whatever, who cares? But then I thought, you know, for a sound with another guy's name on it, he seems pretty happy to say he personally made it. For Roblox. From an outsider's perspective, it looks a bit like Tommy is taking credit for something someone who worked for him did decades later. And yeah, sure, my script was almost done, but I couldn't let that possibility sit unexplored. So I tried to figure out who actually made the sound. And what I discovered was interesting. And then a bunch more other shit happened, and now the video is this long. I'm so sorry.
Let's see that.
Yes, Joey's name is on the file, but that doesn't necessarily mean he created it. If he did the final exporting of the sounds Tallarico Studios made for Messiah, his audio program would put his name on them regardless of who recorded, edited, or mastered them. Instead, let's look at how Tommy talks about who made it. Let's rewind the clock a little. Back in 2019, Tommy quote tweeted that one video that was a repost of the thing Plasmanode put on Reddit. He indicates that his company created and owns the sounds used for Messiah, and that the sound effects was created by my lead sound designer Joey Kouros. Notice that he specifically doesn't say that he made it. He says his company created and owns it, and then specifically credits Joey, implying little to no direct personal involvement. I believe this version of Tommy's story is true. However, soon after writing this, to put it bluntly, it looks like Tommy realized how popular the sound was. He's said in many places, including the livestream, that he didn't really know that much about Roblox until he found out one of his sounds was in it. So on a timeline, it looks like he wrote that tweet and then started looking at the sound's presence online. In his next tweet, he says he's surprised to discover the sound has tens of millions of views online, and then all of a sudden it's a sound we created. And he adds this in parenthesis, like he's trying to sneak it into the story at the last minute, and I myself recorded. This is a bit of a change, isn't it? It's also just a weird way of talking about something you created. Like, if you found out something you had made, was in a huge game, you would go, hey, I made that. You wouldn't go, as you can see, my company created and owns that. It was made by someone who worked for me decades ago.
I would have said, I made that video. I made that sound effect. Hey, they're using my material.
It sounds really popular. I mean, we made it, and I myself recorded it. And to his credit, I think Tommy noticed how this sounds too, because 30 minutes later, he tried again. He started a second thread where this time it's a sound he created, Joey edited, and he owns. Note that he specifically used the word created again. So he got his story straight in the end, at least. Good for him. But that does mean this first tweet is a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Now, you tell me, what one thing would make Tommy look more like he was trying to rewrite the history after the fact here? Deleting the tweet, right?
Man, look at all
From
those
my perspective,
rewrites,
that would be a
man.
very stupid thing to do. But I must be missing something because he did delete it. It's gone. I am not accusing famous industry veteran Tommy Tallarico of lying about who made a sound here. I don't know for sure who did what on this sound. But Tommy should. And if he's telling the truth, why did the truth change when he was surprised by how popular the sound was? In a very short span of time, Tommy's version of history went from Joey created it, to we created it, to I created it, and then
So basically, we still don't know who made OOF.
later an attempt to delete the fact he said Joey created it. I know how it sounds. It would be weird to assume someone just wants to brag about making this one sound effect this badly. But he does brag about it. He put it in his Twitter handle, it's part of his pitch for the Amico. It seems very important to Tommy that he doesn't just own the sound, that he personally created it. To most people younger than me, that sound effect could be the most well-known thing on his resume, which is a bit depressing, really. And when he tries to describe the process of creating the sound, things get even weirder. In the OOF livestream, Tommy's happy to say he made the sound, but then he tries to go into detail about how it was made.
I thought what first I would do is talk about how the OOF sound was created.
When he talks about the work that went into making the sound, he doesn't say he did anything. He says we.
Then what we did is we went through, all the different lines. We did a whole bunch of other stuff to it as well. So after we pitch shifted it down, and then
sometimes he
Does he mean like the people in his company and himself?
accidentally says I and then corrects himself.
I wanted to let folks know how I created the sound, how we created the sound, myself and my sound designer, Joey Curris.
It just keeps going like
him and his
this.
sound
We start to tweak the sound, each individual sound. So again, in OOF, we might have spent, a half hour trying to figure out exactly which way we should have pitched it down and what thing we would have taken and this and that.
On Etsy, there's
Another
all
ad.
kinds of way to find for
Another
the whole
ad.
family. Made just for
This is a strange way to describe something you did. Far from being a sound he created and Joey merely edited, whenever he has to describe any specifics, all of a sudden it was done by committee. Tommy isn't lying about who did what here, quite the opposite really. He's specifically avoiding lying by being as vague as possible about something it would be easy to talk about if he actually made the sound himself.
So I took this little girl's, we took the clip, right? And then what we did is we edited it and we kept the length of the sound.
He struggles to come up with anything he actually did. Like his knowledge helped?
And we'll say, I want to say this right. I mean, it took a lot of my knowledge of audio to create this sound and make it sound unique. Now that people know about me, they know about how I created the ROBLOX sound.
After seeing a guy specifically avoid saying I and say we dozens of times and then finish the story by saying, so that's how I made the sound? It just comes off really disingenuous.
That's how you made the sound? Okay. I thought it was we. Okay.
One quick indicator of what he could mean by we is, at one point he uses it to describe the act of exporting the sound out of the program.
Compressing it and making it all, EQing it and doing all these crazy things to it before we ended up saving it out. So
when he says we here, he just means Joey. It only takes one person to hit save on a file, and that's the one thing we know for sure Joey did. Like with the money situation, it's hard not to read into why Tommy is talking strangely. It starts to sound like Joey did most of the work, but then that would mean someone else deserves the credit for creating the sound. So all of a sudden, this 0.3 second sound effect becomes a team effort. That's Tommy's version of how the sound was made. He says we, but sometimes when he says we, he just means Joey. So, what's Joey's version? Joey's been pretty quiet about all this, and Good for him. His career's still going strong, unlike some people's, and I'm sure he has better things to do than litigate who made an ancient sound effect. Unlike me, who apparently has plenty of time for that shit. However, Kouros does have a website where he maintains credits for every game he's worked on since 1993, and he's still updating it today. Next to Messiah, Joey puts design of all sound effects. After witnessing someone claim Joey did it, change their mind, delete the story, and then talk in very vague terms about who did what, seeing someone just say, I designed all the sound effects, is like a breath of fresh air. This is another reason why I find Tommy's first version of the story more believable. Not only is it untainted by his later discovery how popular the sound was, it's also what the other person who worked on the game said. But this really makes it look like Tommy's stealing credit from someone else who worked for him now. It was just a hunch before, but now, I don't know. And here's when the fun, easy video about the Roblox OOF I was trying to make ended, and the horror of my new life began. Because while I was on Joey's page, I noticed something else. Design of all sound effects for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. This was very confusing to read, because Tommy spent the last several decades saying he worked on Pro Skater.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I was on the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater team. I was on the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater team.
I'm not saying Tommy didn't work on it, it's just some places seem to disagree with him. Places like the credits of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. According to them, someone else did the in-game sound effects. I'll give you 3 guesses. It was Joey. Although the company he was at is credited as well. It's like they're saying sound effects done by this guy from this company. But Tommy's acting like he personally did it again. I'm starting to feel a bit bad for Joey. Just to kind of add to the mystery, he talks about how small the development team was at the time, to kind of add to the exclusivity of it, I guess.
You know, being a part of the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater team, you know, there's only about maybe 10 or 12 of us.
Does in the credits of Metroid Prime Run, does it say anything about Tommy Tallarico Studios or Joey? Like, let me know in the comment section below of this video, man. Let me know in the comment section below.
It means very few people exist who could possibly contradict him. How convenient. It does make it even weirder though for such a small team to leave his name out of the credits. I guess Tommy could say his name is in there, but only because his company is named Tommy Tallarico Studios. So, who is responsible for the sounds in Pro Skater? The guy credited for it, or his boss who says he did it now? In an older interview / house tour, Tommy got a bit more specific. He said he'd buy skateboards, we'd buy skateboards.
We'd buy skateboards.
And then Tommy would help this mysterious other person record the sounds. He says one of the pain sound effects, ironically also a kind of oof, is his actual voice.
The actual sound in Tony Hawk that you hear when the guy falls off the skateboard and cracks his head open. That's me falling off, cracking my head.
So,
Michael's Black Friday sale is
going another ad.
Epic deals on decor.
Another ad. All right.
November 27th.
Come on.
So, Tommy might have helped with some of the sounds, or at least at some point Joey recorded him falling off a skateboard. Strangely though, while he says he was on the Pro Skater team nowadays, at the time things were very different. You see, as I mentioned earlier, Tommy was on a TV show about games while Pro Skater was being made. The thing about journalism is, it's usually frowned upon to cover or review a product you helped create without disclosing you worked on it. And, to his credit, Tommy's very good at this. When he and co-host Victor cover games he was involved with, they make sure to say it. Take Advent Rising, a game he composed a ton of music for.
Advent Rising.
I'm not gonna comment on any of the music in the game because I am completely biased.
This is, and I mean this unironically, ethical gaming journalism. Also, you might have noticed, but Tommy kind of likes to brag about games he's worked on. One time they reviewed an Aladdin game, and they brought up that Tommy worked on a different Aladdin game's music 8 years before.
It was a great throwback to the 16-bit platformer days, and I know you worked on the original Aladdin game, so you must have felt like you were coming
Deja
home a little
vu.
bit. Yeah.
Tommy not only understands disclosure, he loves doing it. If Tommy worked on a game, or a game similar to the one being reviewed, you hear about it on this show. So, what does it mean when Tommy doesn't say he worked on a game? While Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was being made, it was featured on the show. Tommy interviewed one of the developers. Later, when it came out, Tommy and Victor reviewed it, and both gave it a 9.5 out of 10. If Tommy worked on this game's sound effects, he would have said so, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't. At no point whatsoever in the coverage does Tommy disclose he worked on the game. Tommy behaves like a TV guy interviewing a game developer, which would be a bit weird if he was also on that development team, right? I can only think of a few reasons why Tommy wouldn't mention he worked on the game when he goes out of his way to do so normally. One is he randomly decided not to take credit for something, which seems out of character and pretty dishonest considering how hard he promoted the game, and he seems to know better than that. The alternative is, while he had helped Joey out a little, Tommy, at the time, didn't consider whatever input he gave big enough to justify telling people he was involved. Which is fascinating to me. There is potentially a past version of Tommy who, if he honestly thought about it, would choose not to say he worked on Pro Skater. Which is cool of him. However, then Pro Skater went on to be a really famous franchise, and it became very cool to say you worked on it.
I was on the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater team.
And over the years, Tommy's story has grown a bit from helping with some of the sounds to, doing all of them.
I was on the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater team. So I did all those sounds, audio director.
He did all the sounds.
Wait, now he's saying he was the audio director? He's not even in the credit. Let's quickly look at who did what on games Tallarico Studios worked on. On the vast majority, Tommy is often credited for music, but he doesn't do sound effects much. Sound effects, or sound design as it was
sound design
is usually done by Joey. A game Tallarico Studios worked on almost always has music by Tommy, sound effects.
Tommy works on the music and Joey does the sound, so that means
by Joey in the credits. Basically, when Tommy and Joey work on games together, it's pretty clear who did what. In fact, in the early 2000s, Tallarico Studios put out a sound effects library you could buy and use in your own projects, with over 19,500 sound effects in it. Tommy's the executive producer, so I'm sure he was involved in some capacity, but 3 other recorders and editors are credited, along with the sound designer. I wonder who it could be. It's Joey. It's always Joey. Joey credits himself as the lead sound designer at Tallarico Studios for 13 years. The thing he did was sound effects. Even on Electric Playground, Tommy's show, Joey is credited for additional sound effects. So maybe Tommy didn't say he did the sound effects on Pro Skater because he knew Joey would see it. Given Tommy's tendency to take games his sound effects guy is credited for and say he did all the sounds, what does that sort of thing mean for his later claims about Messiah and making the OOF? Well, wouldn't it be funny if Tommy also reviewed Messiah on TV, and when he did, he again did not mention he worked on the game? Wouldn't that be very, very funny? Yeah, it is funny. That is what happened. Even funnier, on that same episode, they also reviewed the Dreamcast version of Pro Skater, giving Tommy yet another opportunity to say he worked on it.
Okay.
Which he didn't. There's starting to be a precedent for Joey doing things, being the one credited for it, Tommy reviewing it and not mentioning he worked on it, and then years later deciding...
So it should be Joey that taking credit, not, Tommy. It should be Joey.
He did. Coming back to how he talks on the stream, we could mean we both worked on this sound, but to be cynical, it can also mean Joey did it while working for me. Messiah is one of the 2 or so games I could find that Tallarico Studios made where they are both credited for the sound effects at once. So potentially Tommy might have been more involved with the sound effects on this than normal. So our candidates are a guy who mostly did music and not sound effects, reviewed the game on television and chose not to say he worked on it, and when he later decided he did and he made this sound, carefully avoided taking credit for anything specific, or the guy credited for sound effects on almost every other game, who says he did it, who Tommy said did it before he changed his mind the first time, and whose name is on the file. In conclusion, who knows?
Yeah.
Could have been either of them. Maybe it was both. Art is really a collaborative process. Okay, that was written as a joke about how heavily the deck is stacked here.
But who really cares at the end of the day? Who really cares?
But let's be serious, I haven't found any definitive proof here. I think it's interesting just how much
at the end of the day, does it really matter who made the oof sound? Like, does it really matter? Does it?
He is credited for sound effects everywhere else, and I think it's weird that Tommy didn't really have any specifics to say about what he did on the sound, and I think if he did work on the game that closely, he should have said so when he reviewed the game on television, but none of that is specific proof of who recorded or mastered a specific sound effect. However, given all of this additional context and information, I can say at least for myself that I have some trouble believing Tommy when he says he made the sound. But when you decide something a well-known industry figure like him has said is suspect, you start to ask, well, what else has he said? This guy's been around for decades and he's said a lot of things. I started investigating some of his other claims.
Alright, so this is pretty much gonna be part 1 of this, reaction of the whole thing. So, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below this video. Peace out. Hope you guys have a good day, and bye.